Okay, this is the number 2 condensing unit. It's the larger one, not just in size, but in size. And we come in with the door here. This is the number 1 indoor air handler. And so I'm not sure how I think I did it labeled it upstairs. This is number 1. It's downstairs. So when you do the thermostat in the living room, it turns this guy on. Number 1 indoor air handler, which also happens to be number 2 condensing unit. So the number 2 condensing unit is downstairs, and the number 1 indoor air handler is downstairs. The number 1 condensing unit goes upstairs, and the indoor air handler upstairs is not labeled. So for the purpose of these reports, what we're going to do is downstairs and upstairs. So this would be the first indoor air handler report that we will see. Okay. So the refrigerant line, this is different than the next video we're going to see. The primary evaporator drain line, okay, does not have a P-trap. The one upstairs does. This one does not have a P-trap, and it's not insulated. We do not have a care use manual. And that's it. Oh, and this is the data plate. This is the data plate. Serial number. So it says the manufacturing 2015. So this is like 20, 21. This is 6 years old. Everything else says 5 years old. The one upstairs, even older. I believe the one upstairs is 8 years old. Those are the manufacturing dates on all of this equipment. This, and later when we start talking about the condensing units, and then after that when we start talking about the water heater, those are all manufacturing dates. Any of this equipment could have been sitting on a shelf. We do not know the installation date. I don't know the installation date. Now my client had some questions about this piping coming in here, and so I guess I should address that right now. And this piping coming in here is a flexible conduit for the electrical. This is an all-electric home. It does not have gas service. So, you know, and this conduit is perfectly acceptable. Perfectly acceptable. So I'm glad I was able to answer that question. So now that we have a safety switch, float switch, and we have one of these, we might have to have a secondary drain line. There is one upstairs, but it's not necessary. Now, one thing that is necessary, let's see if we can do this, is that when you have an updraft system where the plenum is underneath the unit, the floor should have been, that's the optimum word here, it's light on the subject. Come on, bud, you weren't very prepared, were you? I kind of am. Okay, that's very concrete to me. Very concrete to me. Since about 2015, this was supposed to be lined with a galvanized pan. It'd be better if the galvanized pan also had a float switch in it, but that's beside the point. That's beside the point. This is supposed to be lined. And the downstairs air filter is 20 by 20 by 1. It's on the wall right here. It's replaced in 2020, 11/2020. So, you know, it's about time. It's about time for that, according to their notes. I believe them. I believe it. So, anyway, what do we learn? We learned that the air filter needs to be replaced. It's a 20 by 20. We learned that the plenum underneath the indoor air handler does not have a safety pan. We learned that our primary drain line does not have a P-trap. We also learned that we do not have a care and use manual, and we also learned that the labeling on the condensing units and the indoor air handlers, or lack thereof in some cases, like upstairs, but the labeling is inconsistent. Those should be swapped. So.